At this time, we'll call to order the regular meeting of Board of Public Works. This is February 13th, 2023. Betty, roll please.
Mayor Boyd.
I'm here.
Alderperson Carpenter.
Here.
Alderperson Hanson.
Here.
Alderperson Ledvina.
Here.
Alderperson Rosh.
Here.
Very good. Next item, public comment upon matters not on the agenda. Comments made during the public comment period shall pertain only to matters under the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works. Anyone in person or virtually have any public comments upon matters not on the agenda? If so, just state your name, please. For the second time, any public comment upon matters not on the agenda? And for the third and final time, any public comment upon matters not on the agenda? If so, please state your name. Let's move to the items. Approval of the January 9th, 2023 Board of Public Works meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Rash. Any discussion? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 2, Lawrence Drive Reconstruction Update. Eric, and then you want to work on intro. What? Oh, are we really going to do that? Do you want to bump up parking and traffic? Because there might be someone in the audience, number 20, right now.
It's up to you. We can do it.
Is everyone okay with that? Because there might be people in the, yeah, we'll do it. I will make that decision to move item 20 just ahead of you, so stand down.
Actually 19.
Oh, actually 19? Okay, we're going to go 19. Consideration and possible action on city engineer parking and traffic recommendations. Eric, you want to comment on that, please?
Sure. So we've got two different items for recommendation. The first is to take parking on Michigan Street in between Lewis and Charles and move it from the east side to the west side, so parking would now be on the west side. We did send out a survey to 9 residences. We heard 3 back, 2 of which supported, 1 was neutral. The original request is coming from the development across the street, the De Pere Cultural Center, because they're having difficulty with truck turning movements. But also from our standpoint, it makes sense because a lot of the people that are going to want to park on that side will want to go to the church or want to go to the De Pere facility there. So De Pere Cultural Center. So we're recommending that we move the parking.
Very good. I'm going to just ask quickly if anyone out in the virtual audience has any comments you'd like to make on this. If so, we'll open the meeting and hear from you. So does anyone in the audience virtually, there's no one here in person other than our presenters, have any comments on this item on the agenda? If so, just state your name. Very good. Any questions or comments specifically on this one, number 1? Alderperson Hanson.
Just wondering about the senior citizen apartments on the 100 block. I know they had, I think this would benefit them because now it's being moved to the other side of the street, but I know they had some issues with like drop-off areas and stuff. Have we had any discussions with them about how this could impact?
No, in fact, I would agree. It would help them because it's on the same side of the road as their facility. And right now, they do have parking on that block, has it on the west side already. And that's where the issue was arising because they didn't have that drop-off zone, so we restricted parking right in front of their drop-off area. So I think this would benefit them, but again, because we focused on the block that was most impacted.
Okay.
Very good, thank you. Other comments or questions? So I guess we'll take them all at the same time, so if you want to go to number 2, and then we'll
Okay.
vote on them.
And then the second item is to consider a stop sign on Commerce Drive at Rockland Road. We just extended Commerce this year. Rockland Road is a 35-mile-per-hour speed limit. And also it is going to be the future Southern Bridge, and it is considered a collector currently. So we are recommending that we put a stop sign on Commerce at Rockland Road.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience virtually have any comments regarding this item, regarding signs on Commerce Drive and at Rockland Road? If so, just state your name. Very good. Any comments or discussion? Anyone on the board? It appears there are none. I would make a motion to approve both the recommendations, number 1 and number 2.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Rash. Any additional discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. So we can lop 19 off. And we're going to go right back. Let's just do all the other ones first before you guys go on. How about that?
You're going so quickly. Yeah.
Let's go back to number 2. Lawrence Drive reconstruction update. Eric, you want to take that first and then tell us who we have here.
Sure. So what we've got is we've got a grant to do reconstruction of Lawrence Drive south of Schuring, kind of where the construction left off several years ago, and then continuing south of Fortune. So we've got Mead and Hunt working on the design with us, or for us. They're doing the design. And so they're going to give us a presentation. So you know what's going on and are familiar. We are going to have a public information meeting coming up, and that way you're up to speed before the information goes out to the public. And we have Chuck and Angie here today from Mead and Hunt.
Very good. All yours.
Okay, thank
Busy
you
people
guys.
you guys are. You're really busy people, aren't you?
We get around. Thank you for inviting us here tonight. Thanks, Eric, for the intro. Just a quick outline of the presentation here tonight. Real quick, our project team, Scott and Eric here with the city. As Eric mentioned, with the state grant, WSDOT local program, PM is involved in it, and then us at Mead and Hunt are doing all the design work and environmental investigation for the project. So with that, the project location, it begins about 500 feet south of Employers Boulevard and Fortune Ave, right where the 2-lane left turn lane section begins, south of Fortune and Employers. It goes up to the south side of the roundabout at Shearing Road. It's about half a mile in length. Traffic back in 2018, the last count, it was 9,700 vehicles per day out there. Our traffic forecast for the year 2044 is 10,700 vehicles and 8% trucks. So that's what is out there today. Our project timeline, we're here right now in the environmental phase. We started the job last year. Right now, roadway, the construction is scheduled for 2025 officially, but we're preparing the plans for 2024 construction. And that's because of some intersection work at the South Bridge and Lawrence Drive. Intersection is also scheduled for 2025, so we don't want to have both intersections under construction at the same time. So we're getting our plans ready for construction a year ahead of time, and once the MPO approves that, then it'll be in 24, and I think Eric's put that request in. We just haven't heard back yet on that. Just a little bit closer, zoomed in type of detail. We started last summer with the initiation of the project. We did all of our data collection last summer, fall, and then this fall, winter, we developed the alternatives. So we're right in here. Coming up in a couple weeks on March 2nd, we'll have a public information meeting from 5 to 6 at the Municipal Services Building. And then after that, we'll get our environmental document wrapped up, and then we'll work on finishing up the final design in the summer, fall. And if the project is moved up, we'll let it in January of 24. What's the need for the project out there on Lawrence Drive? This is just a couple pictures representative of the pavement deterioration that's out there. The original roadway was constructed in 1986. The purpose of the project is to address the pavement need that's out there, the poor pavement condition. We're looking at 2 alternatives in the environmental document. The first is a rehab type of scope of project, and that's basically just concrete pavement repair, patching, kind of just a higher level maintenance type of work. There's there will be no changes to the lanes or bike lanes and that out there with the rehab scope. So I'm not going to have a lot of details about that, because what you see right now is what would be out there with the rehab scope, except for improved pavement where the patches would be put in. The reconstruction scope is the other one that we're evaluating in the environmental document, and that would be a complete reconstruction, replacement of all the concrete out there. And that brings with it some opportunities to improve the bike and ped accommodations by putting a bike lane out there. Some other things I'll talk about in a few slides coming up, and also new street lighting with the reconstruction scope. So with the reconstruction scope, what we're looking at for a typical section, we call it, it would be a two-way left turn lane in the middle, and then one lane northbound, one lane southbound, 11 feet, and then a 5-foot bike lane on each side. And then we would also bring all the curb ramps and sidewalk up into compliance with the ADA requirements, and also new street lighting. At the Preserve Park Trail crossing, we'll maintain the parking on the west side with an 8-foot parking lane. The rest of the roadway section remains the same as what was on the prior slide. And there's going to be some other little slight changes there that I have a display coming up in a few slides to talk through. So I know this slide is hard to see, but afterwards I got PDFs that we can zoom in. If you have questions on a particular spot, we can zoom in tight. So down here where the grass starts on the south end, right there by the entrance, the south entrance to like the Humana Sports Park, right there is where we take off from this joint. That's about 520 feet south of the intersection. We'll have the two-way left turn lane. As you come up, it will change into a northbound left turn only lane. There'll be one lane in each direction, and then a bike lane on each side. As we go through the intersection, we'll have the opposing southbound left turn lane along with the bike lane and one lane in each direction. And then as you come out of the curve, we transition back into that two-way left turn lane section. So one lane in each direction with a two-way left turn lane in the middle. Bike lanes on both sides again. What this colors down here represent is when we reviewed the existing curb ramps, all the red areas were non-compliant for Americans with Disabilities standards. So they will be reconstructed, and the yellow goldish color, I guess, showing up on this screen here, would be ones that had some feature that wasn't non-compliant, but they weren't completely non-compliant, but we'll be addressing those with the project also. So then continuing up the road, here's where I was talking about the Preserve Trail crossing. This is what it looks like today. Part of the scope of the project was to put a refuge island in the median. So that's what you see right here, with the rectangular rapid flashing beacons on each side to let people know there's a pedestrian crossing there. Part of that is with the driveways here with semis, and that it doesn't restrict the movement in and out of these driveways. However, we'll end up with a paved terrace behind the curb for a little bit because the rear wheel's tracking off over the curb to get through here. So kind of like at a roundabout where you see some of the red pavement for trucks to track across, we'll have that out here is what's proposed here with the island here. There's also some changes with the parking. The amount of parking will not change. Like today, this is 200 feet today. It'll be 200 feet in the proposal here. However, it's shifted north slightly because state statutes restrict parking from 15 feet from the crosswalk. So we moved it up to provide that 15 feet of no parking and then the parking area. And then on the south side here, because now we've gone from 2 southbound lanes to only 1, we're proposing taking this 1 parking spot and putting it down here to provide better vision for people coming out of the Bellin driveway because they only got 1 lane to enter. And if there was a parked car here, there would be a little bit of an obstruction for vision with only 1 lane, and the car going south could only continue in its lane because it's confined by this and by the curb here to avoid a crash. So we're proposing moving this 1 stall to the south end. So I just want to make sure I hit on all the highlights here at the trail crossing. Yep. So then as we continue north from the trail, here's the trail here. We actually have 2 alternatives up here. And The difference is which southbound lane drops. Is it the inside or the outside lane? Because with both alternatives, we continue the two-way left turn lane up past the driveway for Festival Foods Office complex here. And it's basically a three-lane roadway, one southbound lane, a two-way left turn lane, one northbound lane here. And that, so coming out of the roundabout southbound, we have two alternatives. This one we call option one or alternative one. And what that is the outside lane merges into the inside lane between the bank driveway and Festival's driveway. It merges in before that, so it minimizes the number of vehicle conflicts we have at this location, and it's all in one lane before we get to where the parking starts, and that for safety reasons. Some of the things here, because of that, we moved the bike lane on-ramp to this side and then developed the bike lane here, so we're kind of using the curb here to force the vehicle into the inside lane and protect the bicyclists from that movement with this here. The northbound direction, it's keeping the cars in the single lane until they get past the driveway here, and then it flares to the two lanes at the roundabout, and no changes really there. We do propose extending the island farther south in here because there's a lot of crashes. I think there was like 4 or 5 where people were trying to do this maneuver or trying to do that. And so by moving this farther down, it kind of makes this less attractive to try to shoot across or make a U-turn in there. This one would not require any rework of the pavement up here in this area, just moving the bike lane down to this side. The second option is dropping the inside lane into the outside lane going southbound. This all stays the same for northbound. The real difference is right here. With this one, we keep the bike lane here, but we need to widen the right turn lane into the bank parking or into the bank driveway here. We still merge into one lane before we get to Festival's driveway, and that the reason we're keeping the bike ramp here is so that we've got that 5 additional feet of pavement here in case this vehicle starts to cut off this vehicle. We've got a little bit more room of pavement for it to make that maneuvering in there. This alternative would be a little bit more costly than the other one just because there's more pavement rework up here with the right turn lane than with the other one. And then where we are, the next steps, as we mentioned before, we have the public meeting coming up on March 2nd from 5 to 6. After that, we'll wrap up the environmental document and get that approved, then do our final design, and then prepare the plans for letting in January of 24 for construction in 24. How to stay informed. The city has a webpage created for the project, and then they'll be loading up the documents from the PIM that's coming up onto that page and with contact information and that. So all the information that we show will be out there if I'm not mistaken. And then project contacts, if residents have questions, they can contact Mr. Rakers or Mr. Thorsten at these numbers and email addresses. So that's a quick synopsis of where the project is. I do have, like I said, those displays that I can zoom in tighter, so if you got specific questions, I can zoom in tight on whatever location you got a question on.
All right, very good, Chuck. I had one question. Where's the meeting at? Is it March 2nd?
March 2nd at the Municipal Services Center.
Okay, I might have missed it, but I
5 to
apologize.
6.
And I'm sure we'll advertise that on the website and that kind of stuff. So.
And we'll be sending out letters this week to all the people on Lawrence
Affected.
Drive and down in the neighborhood to the south there. I forget the exact boundaries that we have for the letters, so.
It'll be a good chunk of people. Very important project. Alderperson Carpenter.
Yeah, so you're planning on doing the whole reconstruct, even though there's 2 alternatives in there?
Right, there's 2 alternatives, and officially there's not a recommended one until the environmental document is done. But that's the idea, is the reconstruction is the preferred one or recommended one.
And then when this comes to the public meeting, is it possible to put business or festival's name, like on their piece of property, that somebody was watching virtually or something, might be able to help them understand if they don't quite understand where you're going through the project. I mean, if there was like the bank cap, just, it doesn't have to be a big thing, but if you just gave some information, I think that would be very helpful.
Very good point.
Yeah, we have the street address numbers. I got to figure out, I'm not used to just working from the mouse.
Yeah.
So like,
But I've, if you just seen it travel there, I don't pay any attention to the street address. I know what's out there, but I mean, just if somebody was looking, if you can.
yep, no, that's something we can do. We already have like the street addresses there if I can.
Yeah, I wouldn't need all of them either, just a handful of them.
Yeah, kind of
Give you
people
a
can
frame
judge
of
where they
reference.
are, reference on
Right.
themselves. I mean, yeah.
Very good point. Alderperson Rash, I think your hand up. Go ahead.
Mine's kind of just, I know it's a little early in the process, but when you're defining or laying out these two different options here, one costs more money, one costs less money, we get that part. Which one in your mind is actually the safer or the better option of the two?
In my opinion, option one is more desirable than option two.
Okay.
And that just from how that lane comes around. If I can pull this back down. With that free flow lane coming around, they're already expecting to merge in, so it's not really retraining the drivers. And plus, the driver there can see, because it's on that left side of the car when he's coming around, he can feel and see the vehicle next to him in the lane that he's
So the guy coming from the right.
correct.
So I guess maybe I wasn't able to understand or follow the other option of how the other one looked like. You said, I think it was the left lane merging into the right.
Yeah, this is the left lane merging into the right. I got the wrong one up on the screen here. This is the other one that is, sorry, zooming in here.
Because to me, obviously, on the untrained eye, they look the same.
They do. It's just how the lane, the dashes and where they're lined up going down the road is really the difference.
So that indicates that one is merging sooner than the other one.
Right. You gotta wait for it to catch up here. It'll be the signing and how these dashes come along, and that you can see this is kind of pointed over here so that this one comes in versus the other one. The
Okay.
dashes kind of lead it right into here.
Okay. And the signage would also say merge left.
Right, the lane drop, whichever
Right.
alternative it would be.
Okay.
Alderperson Carpenter?
Yeah, and one other question on this. I know you're narrowing it down, and putting bike lanes and everything. Is that curve going to be easier to handle? Because at 35 miles an hour, that's not when that road was designed, it was so flat.
Yeah.
It has no, so if the speed limit is staying the same, you travel 35 on that in the two lanes right now. Now you're going to put is that going to stay the same or?
There's a little bit of a flattening of that curve, but not much. And I got to go to the other one here.
But I think that 4 lanes is tight.
Yes.
Truck is there, truck's wheels are going to drag.
Yeah. I'm just
Right,
saying.
today there's like, the outside lane is only 10 feet and I think the inside is 12 if I remember the dimensions correctly. In that, so
Yeah, 53-foot tractor trailer bleeds into that.
it won't have super elevation on it for several different reasons. In that, there is a little bit of a flatter curve through here, but it'll be normal crown, but out there today, I think it's pretty flat on this side, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah, if you're traveling that direction, it's just. Okay,
And that,
thank you.
so,
So it would be a speedway then if you would put a banked curve in there.
Yeah.
So Eric would get his way.
Yeah, I'm sure they want it to be a lot.
bicycles
They want it to be a lot of fun, I'm sure, yeah.
No, I don't want that because I have to come back with speed complaints.
Well, let's get it taken care of right now. Other questions or comments while they're here? Alderperson Hanson?
So if the full reconstruction alternative is selected, that would include the bike lane and all the pedestrian upgrades and that?
yes.
Okay. Is there any plans for additional landscaping along this stretch?
I'll have to defer that to Scott and Eric.
As you probably figured, I was hoping for some trees, but.
What?
No way.
No,
Um,
never guessed.
and then, what was my other question? Oh, so the final decision on whether to do the full reconstruction, does the city have a stake in that or a say in that along with the DOT and?
Yes, it's a city project. It's being funded by the DOT, so the DOT has, if I'm not mistaken, the final approval on the environmental document. So, but all that feeds into it along with the public input, feeds into what is the recommended alternative and does it meet what we call the purpose and the need of the project. And right now, excuse me, there are no right-of-way impacts with the project because we're matching in with the inside edge of the sidewalk, so there's no right-of-way impacts that we need to go by right-of-way for or temporary easements and that. So really, there is really no big difference in the, excuse me, in the environmental impacts between the two alternatives. And that's usually what tips it one way or the other is there's some big environmental issue.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Are we all good? Great. Again, we urge residents to show up to the public forum in March. We'll advertise that. That's your chance to, speak, and we encourage you to do it. The reach out will go according to what our law states. So, otherwise, people should spread the word or just follow us on social media. It's a big project. So, thank you very much for the update. And I'm sure some might be going to the public meeting. I'm going to try to get there. Yeah, both of you guys should be.
Right now.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else you want to add?
No, thank you for the invite tonight and that. We look forward to seeing you out there on March 2nd.
Sounds good.
So
We'll see you with Highway 32 updates.
Can we get Main Ave on this timeline too? 2 years?
We'll take this one at a time.
no comment.
He knows.
He knows all about that
Yeah,
project.
they know they're coming in, so yeah.
I can't speak for the DOT on that one.
That'll be fun. All right, again, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Have a good night.
You too.
All right.
Are we
Let's
done
go to,
now?
what's that?
That was the last item?
Just
No,
19
no, but they have to stay. They're getting up. They're leaving. Wait, what?
There goes our audience.
Item 3, consideration and possible action on Reservoir and Tower Inspections. This is going to Scott.
So what you have before you, we had sent out proposals, every 5 years, we gotta get our, structures, reservoirs, our towers, inspected. Basically, what was in the budget for this year was our Enterprise Reservoir and our 9th Street Tower. In your packet, we sent out a list of, vendors. We got 3 vendors that actually submitted, for, the inspections. KLM Engineering out of Woodbury, Minnesota, came in with a total of $5,800 for inspection for both facilities. Basically reviewed the proposals, they meet our spec. There was sufficient funding in our water budget to cover the cost, so staff is recommending moving forward with KLM.
Very good. Questions or comments? Or
Make a
motion?
to approve. KLM.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Rash. Any additional discussion and or comments? No, I heard you say it first, but she was back. I couldn't even, I can't.
I didn't say second. I said Shana.
What? She's really low,
You can have it.
really low right now.
I wanted to cross my legs.
That said, all
Extra long.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Cross my legs.
Oh, boy. Okay. Item 4, consideration and possible action on Enterprise Drive Reservoir, is that the right one? They all sound similar. Reservoir Mixer. Eric, you're out there. It's yours. We can see you, so you're up.
All right. Let me pull up my.
Is that the one he has?
Here we go.
One more, the one right after.
Sorry about that. So, very similar to what Scott was talking about with inspections, we have a mixer that's supposed to go into Enterprise Reservoir. There's a lot going on at Enterprise this year. We did solicit 3 bids. We actually ended up getting 4 companies to submit proposals for this project. William and Reed had done some previous mixer work on the last few tanks that we've had the mixers installed on. However, we've had many issues with the mixers that were installed. We actually had our Shoring Road mixer was replaced, I believe, not once but twice. They are, my understanding, reworking a design on their mixer, and we've had the mixer up at 9th Street Tower was actually replaced as well. So there's been some faults and some problems with that. Specifically, the seals on those mixers have been an issue. The good thing is we have a warranty on them, so they've been replaced. But it's staff time and going there and diagnosing the issues and dealing with the replacement. That's been kind of the crux of the issue there. We did some background on KLM. They were our second. They had already been, we had already looked at them to do the inspection and possibly do the mixer as well. I had done some inquiries with MPU and Two Rivers, who have dealt with KLM's Grid B mixers. They come highly recommended by those two municipalities. And I've also I did some talk with Two Rivers superintendent over there, and they were having the same issues with the William and Reed Casco mixers that we've installed recently. They had the same issues as we did, and they were moving away from them as well. So I am recommending that we go with the KLM Grid B mixers. I know it's a little bit over our budget, but if we lump that in with inspection, we would come under budget. And so that would be my recommendation anyways, just to go with the Grid B, since the other communities recommend them, and I think we should and give them a try and have them installed. So
Very good.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
Yeah. If you're having issues with
Yeah.
William Reed, I guess it makes sense to move in the other direction. Questions or comments? Have you guys been out there to the reservoirs? Have you ever toured the facilities? You should.
Been invited.
Yeah.
Well, there's always a standard invite, and I'm sure Eric would take you around
Yeah.
anytime. Yeah.
absolutely.
I did a little jot around to
Absolutely.
some of those places a while back, so it's always out there for you all.
How late can we get in there? Because I'm available at 7 p.m. most.
Yeah, you have 7 o'clock, 8, 9 o'clock tonight. They want to go after. Is that okay? Or
6:30 in the morning.
And it's not considered a pool.
Oh, mornings work best for me. I'm usually in the office between 5 and 5:30, so that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Well, then I can actually do one. Okay.
very impressive facilities, though. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see all this
I
stuff.
would do a 6:30.
If there are no
Yeah,
questions,
absolutely. Just let me know.
We'll do.
I would go with the recommendation for KLM Engineering.
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Rash. Any additional discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Eric's up again for item 5, consideration and possible action to reject proposals for Enterprise Drive Reservoir cleaning and overcoating. Take this one.
Yeah, this was a little bit of a disappointment and surprise for me and Scott when we got these bids back in. We had been working with a company, Water Tower and Clean and Coat, out of Lodi, Wisconsin. They had done several. In fact, they did the painting and the cleaning and the painting of the Shoring Road tank, I believe, back in 2014. Did a great job. They also did the cleaning of the exterior of Matthew Tower. I think it was several years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and did a fantastic job with those two projects. I had reached out to Water Tower Clean and Coat, knowing that this project was in the works. Last year, got basically an informal quote from them of what it would cost to do it, do the project with cleaning and painting Enterprise Reservoir again. And the number they sent back, we based our budget off of $50,000. We had thought we had plenty of money in there if they were to submit a bid for this project. It turned out that they ended up not bidding the project at all. I did not reach out to any other companies. I guess assumed and shame on me, but assumed that, they would bid bid this project as they have every other project that's basically been sent to them from us. They've submitted a bid. I don't think there's ever been a time where they hadn't. And they had questions and reservations about, in our proposal, we had put an umbrella in, I'm not sure if it was this one, but I think it was a different one where there's 5 million umbrella. I think this one was 2 for insurance, but they had some reservations about being able to meet that policy or that insurance requirement. So they didn't bid. I even texted them the day of, and so they didn't end up submitting a bid as a surprise to me and Scott. The 2 bids that you see there were the only 2 that came back. Obviously, they're well over budget. I'm not really sure how we're going to move forward with the painting and cleaning project. Although Scott and I have discussed that we will. We had started cleaning a couple years ago the exterior of that tank. One of our guys had surgery though in the middle of that for an issue that they were having. So they were working on a project and came back. We didn't get back to it, but we are going to end up approaching this project of cleaning the tank ourselves. And if we can get it clean enough, possibly, just bidding for painting next year instead. So I'm not sure how much that'll shave off the quote or the bid, but it'll be something that'll have to be rebid for next year with these kind of prices in mind. So I guess that's kind of the long-winded overview of the project and why we're rejecting it or recommending for rejection.
Very good. It all makes sense. Obviously, it's well over budget, so for in-house to do it, that's great. But it would have been a lot easier if it would have worked out like the last time. But it is what it is.
Yeah, disappointing.
That's okay. That happens in this environment. That happens.
Yeah.
Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're busy too. So.
Alderperson Hanson.
And the city attorney, I suppose, would not like the idea of kind of negotiating with them to meet their insurance concerns?
We're gonna.
Yeah,
Scott's gonna take it.
I actually had. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, so I tried reaching out to Russ Fine from Water Tower Cleaning Coat a couple of times about his concerns about the umbrella policy. I have not been able to, he would not return my phone calls, he would not return my texts or my emails, so I'm not sure if there's some heartburn over there from his point of view about, what he views as something new or a change in our requirements. I was hoping that I would see him at the conference I was just at last week, but I did not. They weren't there. So I will attempt to reach out to them in the near future here again with their concerns. And that maybe that is something that somebody asked, maybe Scott or the mayor might have a better perspective on that.
Scott's gonna take a kick at it.
And just to add on what Eric is saying is, Water Cleaning Coat, there was 2 proposals they got from us. One was inspections that had a higher umbrella of 5 million. The clean and overcoat had our standard 2 million. So there was a little bit of confusion, I think, on Water Tower Cleaning Coat's, perspective, because how he's bid before with the umbrella was there, nothing changed. It was the inspection. And that's what Eric was trying to clarify. So it wasn't really the issue with the umbrella on what we're rejecting. It's just I think he was unclear because he had 2 different proposals out.
Okay. It's very good. Other questions or comments? Alderperson Carpenter.
So the cleaning policy is cheaper than the inspection policy. One's got a 5 million on it, then the other one's got 2. I always when I always looked at things, I always thought I noticed 2 million come through here.
So what had happened, near as I can tell, all the proposals we put out this year had a 2 million, you're correct. They always had, for, our inspections and everything else. So what had occurred, we didn't have any inspections last year, and Central Brown County did a joint bid for the other member communities. So they were going to do that again for all their member communities. Well, then they found out the Pere was the only one that had inspections. So I said, why don't you just send me over what you guys took last year? They kind of took what I created, many, many years ago, that created that and did it for everybody else because we had nothing last year. So when I took that back to rebid it, that was one of the things, I think somehow that umbrella changed. I think it might have been a water authority thing because it didn't match our other proposals we sent out this year. So the 2 million would have been sufficient. But once we went through the process and we're at the day of opening bids, it was tough to get that clarification on it to do anything to really change it. So, as far as the clean and coat, that's not going to change, but it'll go back to our other umbrella that we've had before where it was the 1 million, 2 million.
Go ahead, Alderperson.
So is it possible this gets cleared up, this could be rebid then, and then possibly still done this year?
Potentially, yes. We would have to, staff would have to get a hold of Clean and Coat to see what their schedule is, because like Eric indicated earlier, we set up the budget in this year's budget based off a quote last year and added, a contingency on it. If this contractor is able to do it and quote it, we would probably try to do it this year. If not, we would just bring it back for next year.
'Cause if we reject this bid here, when you reject it, that means it can go back out for bid again. I assume maybe after so many days or something, I don't know.
We can rebid it.
We could rebid this once again, even this year, and see if
Correct,
any of these other companies came down, or maybe we get somebody else bid.
correct. These other companies that bid that you have before you, they've been usually double what water cleaning the tower is, and I anticipated that because, like I said, we've had very good success with water tower cleaning coat in the past. With full knowing going in, I figured they would bid it, but unfortunately it didn't happen. That's why we're in a predicament we are today.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions? Seeing there is not, I make a motion to reject the proposal.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Ledvina. Any additional discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Is Eric done now?
Yep.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye, Eric.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. You guys have a good night. See you tomorrow.
I get to go too, all right?
No, you don't get to go, and nor does the other Eric, even though we said Eric. So he could have picked up on that and said, oh, I'm out of here. But it's his fault. He stayed there, didn't budge.
Just a blur.
I'm a little slow sometimes.
Tough luck on that one.
Use all this stuff.
Item 6,
Things later.
consideration and possible
Bring your
action on
coffee
leak.
morning.
See ya. Consideration and possible action on leak detection survey.
So what you have before you is proposals we sent out for our leak detection to do our citywide system. We've been doing it every 2 years for quite a few years now. Basically what we do is hire somebody to go citywide to listen to our systems, our mains, our hydrants, our valves, our curb boxes to discover leaks. Currently we're experiencing, based on the 2021 PSC report, with about a 13% water loss, which is not too bad because we've been as high as 20%, but I think it's been tightening up because we've been doing it every other year. So this was a joint effort. I actually sent out numerous proposals for various vendors. We have actually had Alloway, Village of Alloway, and Village of Denmark were included in some proposals. For our bids that were submitted, we actually received 2 bids, one from Ferguson, one from Faith. They're very, very tight bids. An interesting thing about it, Ferguson has done our work in the past. Faith is a new company, which is basically somebody that just retired from Ferguson. So they were kind of, they knew what they were bidding. Both contractors, as far as I'm concerned, do quality work. We are actually recommending going with Ferguson Waterworks an amount of $27,075. We have $40,000 budgeted for under the water utility budget.
Well, first of all, great job working with other communities to work together on this. I imagine with the one person kind of leaving Ferguson, that's going to help us in the future, knowing that he was pretty close. So, Alderperson Carpenter.
Yeah, so Scott, on our curb boxes, I see it reads that they have to listen on the curb box. Who's following them or making sure that it's all being done?
We usually have staff that's with them. We actually go out. So what the team does, all the curb boxes are raised. And basically up so they can get on them, because that's half the battle. A lot of communities don't do them. And then Eric's team will be out working with that, making sure they're listening on the curb boxes.
Because I mean, I can just see, and that's how they go about it. They don't listen to everyone. Where if you wanted to change something, I'm nothing wrong with this. The only thing I would change if you wanted to make it easier for them is when valves maybe were within so many feet of each other. You probably didn't have to listen on, let's say there's 3 valves within 5 feet of each other or something. Maybe you didn't have to listen on all 3. And maybe they're not doing that right now either, for all I know, and it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that the curb boxes are very important.
Well, and that's, it's interesting you bring that up because we've had our communities that are seeming to get a little higher bids because the criteria we have, because other communities that just do the valves or, every so many feet or the hydrants. An issue we've been having over the years is we've had more water service leaks, especially with the plastic and stuff, and you got these inserts that go in them. And, if you don't listen on the curb box, like we require, you miss that and you don't get that at the main. So we started doing it, and that's kind of hesitation in some of the communities. If you look at what went out, some communities pull out what we require because they don't do it. They might be all metal or different things they don't require it. But most of our leaks the last couple of years have been on the services, so it's very critical we get on them.
And
Go ahead.
just to mention on it, I mean, it's how our curb box is attached to the water line itself that you can just sit on the top and listen. Because years ago, Green Bay and others set over, so you could listen on the top of the curb box and you're not going to get any noise sound anyway. So, I mean, it's how they're put in, and I'm happy the way City Pier does theirs.
Very good. Good to hear. Alderperson Scott, and then
Oh, go ahead.
Alderperson Rash.
I had the same questions that Dan did, so I appreciate he asked them for me.
Did you really? I don't believe that, and don't take that down. I don't believe that at all. Scott,
No, you want me to respond on that one?
you're so serious.
So one of the things just we're looking at in the future, that we do this every other year, and it costs in $25,000 to $30,000 range. With the equipment that they have out there, we're potentially looking at buying the equipment for our team to do that in-house internally instead of doing it every other year. With staff, we can get in the summer months and hit, throughout the community. Because right now, even outside our leak detection, if we have a main break that's really bad and we can't find it, we're going to Ferguson's of the world to have them come in with their equipment to help us find it. And by having that, I think we may be better off just having that for itself, because a lot of times we do get issues, or we have to find leaks, or somebody's got something, and we don't have the equipment. So a lot of times we're hiring the Fergusons to come in and help. So we're evaluating that for the future instead of actually hiring somebody to do that.
Oh, that's good. Alderperson Rash.
No, from a serious standpoint, though, I mean, Alderperson Carpenter's experience in the water department comes in really handy in Board of Public Works, because I think sometimes he even knows things that Scott or Eric might not be aware of, just because he's been in the ground looking at it sometimes, or been so close to some of these things. So it does come in really handy. I know I joke about the fact that I would ask the same questions. I'm not even close. I don't even know how to spell some of the things he talks about.
No, nothing.
But no, it's really helpful to have him being able to ask these questions, because it really is Greek to many of us, even though we're sitting on the board.
Did he offer his services for free to assist the city in possibly serving as an inspector?
No, but I'd make a proposal for future agenda items.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
a
I don't-
consultant fee or
I-
something.
Inspection, yes, but when Scott brings up this and somebody else is going to come in here, I don't want to I hope Ferguson has somebody on staff now that has the capabilities of the person that just left. That's all I will say.
All right. Very good. Other questions or comments? Or a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Levenda, second by Alderperson Hanson. Any additional discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, consideration and possible action on establishing special assessment rates for storm sewer main and/or laterals. Eric.
So this is the annual rate we establish for our storm lateral assessments, and it's broken down by residential and non-residential. And what we do is we take the last couple years and we create an average, and then that is what gets used when we bring our stormwater lateral assessments forward. And generally, well, it's 100% of the lateral cost gets charged back to the resident, and 20% of the storm main cost if there's new main going in. So a person may get a storm lateral but may not have to get a storm main if there's already storm sewers somewhere in front of their property. So this is the establishment. We ultimately will bring this back, if approved, when we go to levy assessments and go through the public hearings and special assessment resolutions and so forth, which will start at the next meeting. The rates that they come out this year for the residential that we're recommending are the storm lateral is $2,086.20. The storm main assessment is $577.73, and again, that's only 20%. And then on the non-residential side, for commercial lots, things like that, we charge per front foot, and it's $1,234 for storm main if they need it. And then if they get a 6-inch lateral, it's $2,395.50. An 8-inch lateral is $3,155.33. And a 12-inch storm lateral is $3,842.45. And then those are based on the size of the lot, the amount of impervious area. And additionally, a lot of times, and we will bring this back as part of the preliminary resolution, the board will establish a 5-year payback for something like this. This is also the one where they have up to 25 years or until they sell the property. So those are the rates we're recommending for this year.
Is there an approximate percent comparison from the previous year?
That's my question.
So, okay, so I did the numbers before we got here. If you add the two numbers, just looking at the residential, because that's the biggest one we get, and I think everybody right now is residential this year. So the total, if they had both of them, is $2,663.93. Last year it was $2,447.42. So it's a good thing you're last year, Shayna. And but unfortunately our prices keep going up, and so that's it's $216.51 increase from last year to this year.
Anyone good on percents on that one or not? It seems
It's 8%.
8% roughly.
All right. Okay. I mean, it's kind of where we are right now.
But anyway, did you look at my notes? But anyway, so yeah, it is a little bit more. But the one thing that's probably helping this, the dampening effect is we're looking at 3 years. If you go look at last year's prices for 6-inch lateral, it's a lot more than the previous years. So
Sure.
by doing
the
this
3-year
average,
thing
it
really
kind of
helps
balances it a little
Smooths
bit.
it out. Yeah. That's a very good point. It's a really good point. Questions or comments, even though I took Alderperson Rash's question away?
Alderperson Carpenter did the same thing, so
I'll make a recommendation to approve staff's.
I'll second it.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Rash to approve the special assessment rates. Any additional discussion and or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, consideration and possible action on quotes for 2023 materials testing and soil borings. Yep, I'm sorry, Eric.
So, yeah, this is our annual testing that we use, and we break it into two components. One is for the materials testing, density checks, asphalt, concrete, cylinder breaks, slumps, air, all that. And then the second is for the soil borings that we need. For instance, for ponds, we have to do them. Marty's going to have some at Voyager for his pavilion that's being built. So we use the soil borings for that. And what we do is we take an estimate of what has been done the last couple years, and that's what we use for ours. They fill in the rates, and then, really that's the best we can do because we don't know how much testing we're going to have throughout the year, and it depends on how big the year is. So based on our results, Bay Area is low at 39,090 for the materials testing, and PSI is low with an estimate of 7,200 for the soil borings, and we would recommend those two contractors.
Very good. What have we budget for this?
Well, this is included with our project. So when we do the testing, that gets paid out of our capital.
Okay.
Because even though it's $40,000, it's spread out through all. So if it's a TID project, then the TID pays for it. If it's a sanitary sewer, the sewer account pays for it, and that's how we do it, through the capital.
Very good. Questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve the bids from BATC and PSI.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Hanson, second by Alderperson Rash. Any additional discussion and/or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, consideration and possible action on award of contract 2305, Sidewalk and Curb Repairs. Eric.
Yeah, so this is our annual sidewalk and curb. It kind of focuses on the smaller concrete area, and also, though, it does do our sidewalk program in our parks and for the one that is special charge to the residents. So we had 2 bids come in, Highway Landscapers at $354,410 and Jim Fisher at $461,850. And then you can see, how we anticipate the funding for the project. So we're recommending award to Highway Landscapers.
Well, that's a wide range, is it not?
I'll make a motion for highway landscapers.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Rash. Eric, you're going to say something?
I was going to say, we're really having a struggle with the flat work. We lost another one this year when I sold all their equipment. And, it is unfortunate we only have 2 bids. We used to get 3, 4, and I don't know if it's the amount of work, but yes, it is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's too bad. Other additional comments and/or discussion? Alderperson Hanson.
So if a resident who has a defective sidewalk doesn't fix it themselves, then highway landscapers would be the one to come in and do it?
Correct.
Okay. And then this definitely to Pier Bicentennial Park 6,000, is that for relocating that sculpture by Pasquale's?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about that the other day. Yes, so on its way out somewhere else.
What's wrong with that
Repositioned.
It's my favorite.
Repositioned.
Reposition, yeah.
My favorite one most.
It's been a discussion for a while, so yeah, relocated. It's for just reason, for many reasons. So way to go, Alderperson Hanson. Other he reads through all this stuff here, doesn't he? Yeah.
Darn right.
I'm glad you did bring that up. Other questions or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 10, consideration and possible action on award of contract 2306, concrete street repairs. Eric?
So this project, similar to the last, it's concrete, but the difference is this is bigger, thicker concrete roads. So this is kind of a different tier of contractors that bid this type of work, so we separate the services. So one of the big projects this year is the American Boulevard pavement rehab. We're going to be touching up farther south from Fortune going down past South Bridge. And just kind of one of those things, it's getting to be 25 years old, so we want to rehab the pavement. So there'll be a lot of patching and things like we've been doing the last couple years in other streets. And so we had, again, 3 bidders. Summers Construction is low at $454,436.70, which we're recommending for award. The one caveat is this project does include the Claude Alloway roundabout, where we're going to be grinding the pavement markings and then restriping, and that portion came over budget. So the additional $20,000 would be bonded for the pavement marking portion of the job.
Very good. Thank you. Questions or comments? Scott?
I just want to let the board know, so when I set up the capital as part of the budget, this is kind of unique to us, that roundabout and the striping, something we typically don't do. The complexity with the striping and the traffic control and everything, it's kind of where we blew the estimate on, but it's something that's typical of what's going to probably happen if we do these roundabouts in the future, because it's just a nightmare. You get in there, grind, put pavement marks in around, shift traffic around, so it's kind of a something we don't have the experience in, but it is a complex project. So going forward, if somebody wants to know what it costs to stripe a roundabout like that, it's going to probably be $80,000 to $100,000. So
It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. When's that going to happen? Sometime in the within the next.
mobile opens up.
Great. Great.
Oh, as Scott said, it's going to be a traffic nightmare.
Do that between 7 and 9. And
We all done.
and then 3 to 5. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It has to be done though. Has to be done.
Nothing effect on the west
Doesn't
side.
affect the west side.
We're just shutting the bridge down completely, so, yeah.
So good.
Well, you said there should be a fee.
Still good. Maybe it's time to put that toll bridge up, help pay for these projects.
I'm not even gonna comment anything. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the, concrete street repair
I'll second.
bid. Motion by me, second by Alderperson Ledman. Any additional comments? I hope not. That said, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11, consideration and possible action on award of contract 2313 crack filling. Eric?
Yes, so this is our annual crack filling for asphalt, and sometimes we do concrete streets too to fill joints. Pretty important for our maintenance. We had two bids. Low was asphalt seal and repair at $111,875, and it's going to come from the capital improvement budget, so we are recommending award to asphalt seal and repair.
Very good. Time for crack filling.
I'll make a
Question?
motion to approve asphalt seal and repair.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Rash, second by Alderperson Levina. Any discussion or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
It's not your fault, Eric. It's asphalt.
Oh,
That's actually asphalt seal and repairs.
I know.
That's right, you're exactly right.
Hang on. Clarification. Unless you don't call them.
That is your fault.
That's really
So they're gonna have to pay us for that ad, aren't they? That little placement? Are you working with them there?
Yeah, I'm
Not really sure.
Well, we need it. We have a lot of
get
stuff to be entertained by. Seeing there are no additional questions, comments, or ads, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
trouble with
carries.
Facebook
Thank you. Item 12, consideration and possible action on award of contract 2315 sewer televising. Eric.
Yeah, so sewer televising, this contract primarily focuses on cleaning and televising our storm sewer. That's something we've been doing for quite a while. The one caveat this year is we are doing a little bit more of lateral televising. We are not able to televise laterals with our camera system. So we had quite a few bids, and most of the bids are really, really close. And Green Bay Pipe and TV was the low at $50,085. And of that, $50,000 is coming from the stormwater utility for the storm sewer, and $13,000 is coming from the sewage revenue fund for the sanitary laterals more so. And every once in a while, we'll have them do a little bit of sanitary too, but it's primarily a storm project.
I assume National Power didn't read the bid prospectus, or
They do that every year.
Well,
So
good
I'm
for
guessing
them.
maybe they get one here or there and they make a lot of money.
so one of these times we're let's go with them. I didn't say that. Questions or comments?
There's still 4 other votes. It doesn't matter.
True. I'd make a motion to accept the bid for Green Bay Pipe and TV LLC.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson. Very close. Rash. Any additional questions and/or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 13, consideration and possible action on award of Project 2319 Mudjacking-Request for proposal. RFP. Go ahead, Eric.
So the mudjacking is, again, mudjacking and the next one, grinding, are used quite a bit for our sidewalks related to trees and other things. But unfortunately, we only had one bidder, Badger Concrete Lifting, and the estimated amount $6,040, because this is just an estimate. We'll know more once we get into the program. But the good news, we provided the information from last year, so you can get a feel for what the prices were last year to this, and they're the same. So that is the good news. And the allocation right now is about $9,000 from the Capital Improvement Fund. But this is one that can vary quite a bit because we won't know until we walk the entire section of the city that we're doing our sidewalk program in. So we're recommending award to Badger Concrete Lifting.
Very good. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Rash. Discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 14, consideration and possible action on award of Project 2319A Sidewalk Grinding Request for proposal. Eric.
Similar to the last one, we only had one bidder for this, All-Star Cutting and Coring LLC, and their bid amount based on the estimated work is $50,080. And you can kind of see last year we provided the prices from ESI Limited, who had gotten the project, and All-Star's quite a bit higher on grinding sidewalks less than 5 feet wide, and they're lower on grinding sidewalk more than 5 feet wide. Generally, our sidewalks probably fall in in less than a 5-foot wide category, but this is what we got. It's, I guess, it's just where they put their estimate for work. But we are recommending award, and then it would come again from the Capital Improvement Program Fund, and we're estimating $16,000. But again, it'll vary once we walk the program.
Very good.
Make a motion to approve the bid from All Star Cutting.
I'll second that. Motion by Alderperson Hanson, seconded by Alderperson Carpenter. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 15, consideration and possible action on MSA Professional Services Proposal for Community Development Block Grant Application for Street Improvement Projects. Scott.
So the city contracted with an MSA to actually pursue a income survey for us for this community development block grant. Basically, the streets we're looking at is South Superior from Merrill to the cul-de-sac, and then the Bomere from South Superior to Erie Street. So when they do the communities or the income survey, one of the criteria for the city to be eligible to apply for this grant is the income ratio's got to meet a 51% LMI. So we're just at that. We're just above the 51%. Actually, we had another street that was in there. It was Virginia. We pulled that out because otherwise we wouldn't have made the 51%. So we stuck with these two streets I have in with South Superior and Bomere. So we're at the minimum eligibility requirements. So they reached out to DOA that kind of administers the grant. Yes, you guys, the city is eligible for it. Your next process is to actually apply for the grant, which is quite a lengthy process. And at the same time, Eric and his team have to put a set of plans together. The application is due in May. Unfortunately, the cost of the application, as you have in your packet, is the proposal is $16,000. We did not budget for that. So basically, what we're recommending to move forward to have MSA apply for us is to basically apply for take that out of the undesignated unassigned reserves. The issue with the community development block grant, if we're successful, it's kind of like I'll call it a 2-to-1 match. So ultimately, you like to have about a $1.5 million project, because then the city would actually be responsible for roughly $500,000. The grant would cover roughly $1 million. Because we took the one street out, we'll still get a 2-to-1, but it won't be, the amount of grant will be less, but we'll still be within that. So what'll happen is they apply for it. We'll find out this summer. This project would go to construction then in 2024. It wouldn't be for this year, but that's just the way the process goes. Then what'll happen is if we're successful in the grant, Eric and his team will bid it. There's a process, a very kind of strict process. Administrating the grant, we would hire MSA in the future. I kind of got that price in there, or a firm would do it to administer the grant at $35,000. So really right now, what staff is looking from the board is to basically approve the proposal with funding it from unassigned reserves in an amount of $16,000.
Alderperson Carpenter.
So when you get these community development block grants, let's say we go through this process and are accepted now, then can you apply again next year? Do you kind of got to wait years that they kind of slide it to other, trying to share monies?
So I don't think there's a time frame we have to wait so many years. The challenge we had, we in the Pere, there's not a lot of areas. We have that LMI that's at that 51%. I've known that grant was out there for a long, long time, but it's usually for more poorer areas and poorer communities where you get that, the funded streets. Reason that I found about, and I got interested in it, because remember when MSA, we hired them to do a general find grants for us and for all the departments and stuff. So what had happened was basically they'd reached out, hey, we found this area that we think, probably one of the only very few areas in the Pere that would qualify for a CDBG grant, and then basically apply for it. So then that's kind of where we're at. I don't think we have any other opportunities in other areas to apply for that.
And that might help us then.
Yeah.
Alderperson Carpenter.
Yeah, so I assume that the street's got to be in a grade, at a certain grade too. I mean, you can't just, because we have other areas of the community that probably could fall in that. area. But the roads aren't gonna meet the requirements right now. I'm not gonna start listing.
They just, all the grant requires is part of our capital plan, and we had plans to go in and do the street improvements on it.
Because
So they're the
I
ones
think
that-
some of the tree streets in different areas,
Yep.
you know what I mean, throughout our city, not,
Yep.
but some of them are just all redone with water and different things too. I know that. That's why I was just asking that question. If they have to meet a certain grade, you know, you're not gonna go fix a road that's just been 5 years
The
old.
street itself does not, no.
Okay.
Just as long as it's following Eric and the recommendation, and the various streets we put in the plans every year.
Yep.
We goes by ratings and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you. So in the future, we could have other areas. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and having the relationship with MSA is quite good, so hopefully it'll, bear out. Other questions or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
So if we're approved for this, Scott, the street improvements, will that basically consist of just like a standard resurfacing or
Reconstruct.
a full
The
reconstruct?
utilities and the curb and stuff, install storm sewer, storm laterals.
Which is great for those areas as well.
Yeah.
And then, part of that with the grant, then, for those areas there, and because the grant gets funded, then it'd be that assessment, I don't believe would be charging them for them because the grant would cover it.
Oh, wow. That'd be great.
Alderperson Rash.
Yeah, and I probably know the answer to the question, but why wasn't this budgeted?
Why wasn't it budgeted?
Yeah.
Because with the grant, we did not know we had eligibility or qualified for these. It's kind of like when we hired MSA, it came out of unassigned reserves is to get them research. And as they're finding grants, you don't know what's out there and the cost of administering or applying for the grants.
Okay, and that was my assumption. So,
Very good. Alderperson
I
Carpenter.
think that was stated when Larry stated that at that meeting, kind of, when this stuff comes up, because when they find them, it's unknown, so that this is gonna what
Yeah, they're searching. I'll get stuff sent my way too, and I'll send it to them throughout the year. It doesn't match with the budget process, but we don't turn stuff away. We look at it. Scott?
And the other thing on that is all these are timeframes and deadlines, like this one here. We have, it's the middle of May, so I mean, if you don't fund it for this year, then you miss your opportunity for the grant.
Alderperson Rash.
so follow up on that then, is it something from a city standpoint, we want to be able to maybe set some dollars aside for when these projects come up, so we do have kind of a budget area to work with, and then
It's something we could look into. Yeah, I'll take that
I
up
mean,
with.
as a conversation, because that way it's not, this one came up and it's 16,000, and this one came up and it's 20,000, and
Yes.
maybe there's a way to just kind of set a little pot aside, and we can obviously go above that, right? Because
Okay, yeah, Scott or
do
Eric.
that on this one, but
Scott, you want
Yep.
to take this?
Well, I was just saying, I know that the council's got to consider ARPA funds. You could, take a pot of that money, and this is for applying for
Oh, we have
grants.
to use that by
we have to use it
24, though.
2024.
No,
And we can't do that because our list is made up and we can't deviate away from that,
Hey,
otherwise I
we
would
didn't try, Scott. You can't. And you
I would have
can't add
offered that money already to
I was
the
trying to get
cleaning of the
some stuff
water
added.
tank. I would have offered that money to the sharing of the enterprise, but we can't do that. That was discussed.
Numbers were holding.
Scott.
So, I mean, in future budgets, I guess I would suggest, like talking to the city administrator, having, because this is for all departments, have a line allocated for grant solicitation funding, applications, that sort of thing, because, MSA is finding grants for various departments at this
Yeah, it's
point.
just a budget thing,
You gonna remember that, or am I gonna remember that? How we gonna do that?
That's your budget.
Okey dokey. All
I
right.
make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Ledwina, and yes, I will talk to Larry tomorrow. Any additional discussion and comments, Alderperson Hanson?
I assume it was looked at, but just wondering about Bull Street. If that was added, would that take us over then? The 50?
That area was looked at, yeah.
Oh, it was, okay.
Very good. Alderperson Rash,
So what is the funding source for this?
go ahead. I want you to say it.
He doesn't have to approve that.
Unassigned reserves.
Motion or?
What is it?
I think both the motioner and seconder understand where the funding source is.
Yes,
Unassigned
I can
reserves,
go back to it if you would like. I'll
Want me
just
to
read
say
it.
it?
Go ahead, because I can go pull it up here.
That said, the payoff could be huge. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I just got moved around here. Where am I? 16?
17, I think.
16.
16. Nice
Trying to
try.
get this meeting over with.
Item 16, consideration and possible action regarding engineering technical services regarding installation of AT&T's wireless antenna facilities on Merrill Street water tower. Scott.
This item and the next item are similar. AT&T is looking at upgrading their wireless facilities on our towers. As we've done in the past, we hired Dixon to review everything that the wireless companies are doing, make sure it doesn't impact our towers. There's two proposals. They're both in the amount of $6,200 for each one. AT&T and the wireless companies have funded that and paid for Dixon. So basically, staff is recommending that we hire Dixon to review the wireless plans for Merrill Street Tower.
Seems this comes up every year.
Yep.
Make a
Correct.
motion to approve staff's recommendation for Dixon.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson. No, because you're just kind of bitter right now, and I don't like that attitude. Alderperson Rash.
You're bitter?
I guess I am.
Discussions or comments, and we can wait on this. Seeing there is none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item, and again, I'm not saying this like I'm being a smart aleck here, but 17, right? Item 17, consideration and possible action regarding engineering technical services regarding installation of AT&T's wireless antenna facilities on Matthew Water Tower.
Make a motion to approve the proposal.
Second. Motion by Alderperson Rash, seconded by me. Any discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 18, consideration and possible action on state municipal financial agreement for State Highway 32 from Merrill Street to Cook Street.
So the DOT recently reached out to us, as you can see in the email. They're planning a project from Cook Street going to the south. So at the same time, there's that other portion of 32, basically from Merrill to Cook. They reached out and they felt they could be resurfaced. So what the SMA, or municipal agreement is that the city would fund the design, part of the design services at amount of $19,550, and the state would pick up the rest, and they would actually incorporate that in their overall project they have later coming. I believe it's in 2027.
Yeah, it's not bad. 19,000 out of 462. Questions or comments? Alderperson Carpenter.
So this is for the engineering fees. Is that the state, when the road gets done, are we going to end up paying 25%?
When it comes to resurfacing, I don't believe that we'll have any costs unless there's specific costs for adjusting our utilities. Then we would have construction costs to it. And then there may be some other costs that Eric and I will have to work with. As you recall, at the previous board meetings, there's some improvements that we would like to do at the intersection of Cook Street with the striping and that sort of thing, and potentially the signals. So any of those costs that happen at the intersection that we want to incorporate into that project, that would be our cost to that.
And so when we had the Main Street project, was it 25% we paid for that, or was it 20%? I was just curious if the state anteed this up a 5% or not.
The one coming up.
It was it's 75-25 on, I believe, on Main Avenue.
Okay, I thank you.
But then some of the funding depends if it's federal involved.
Yes.
Because then it goes at 80-20, so it kind of shifts from 80-20 to 75-25.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by me. You're not going to say anything now? Second by Alderperson Carpenter.
I thought you.
Any additional discussions or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's do 19 again. Just to
No,
do it.
Shannon would like to
The
get done.
color's still on.
I want to do.
Waving their hand, they want to speak.
Someone wants to speak? No. You were waving your hand. That was really good. Is it like 1 a.m. right now or what? Ish, ballpark? Let's go to 20. Discuss city engineer recommendations on no action parking and traffic discussion items. Eric.
So we just have two items that we're not recommending any action. The first was to consider a crosswalk on Saddlebrook at Shetland. If you remember, we did add the curb ramps this past year in 2022. But for our crosswalks, we have not been marking crosswalks on local streets, which this is. So it really doesn't meet our policy because there's so few true conflicts when a pedestrian and a car is going to be there, so we're not recommending any action. Do you want me to go on to the...
Let's take them one at a time. Alderperson Hanson, I think you have a question.
Yeah, Eric. So I know if it's a collector street, then it would qualify. And Jordan Road, you had mentioned, is not considered an arterial street in Brown County, makes that designation. I'm just wondering, hypothetically, if Jordan Road was a arterial street, do you think Saddlebrook would be a collector street, or do you think it would still be a local road?
Jordan would be, it would never be an arterial. It would be a collector.
Okay.
And it might even be a collector. I'd have to go back and look at the maps. Our arterials are our really, really busy streets. They're, the main avenues, Broadway. We start getting into collectors. Collectors are, a busier street, but they don't, but they're not quite like an arterial. You got tens of thousands of vehicles a day. So there's no way this street would ever fit a category because it's just local roads. And really, if you think about, if we're going to mark this local road crosswalk, you might as well mark them all. I mean, there's just so few.
Yeah.
And it's, it's good to have the crosswalk there. I think it'll work great for everybody, but it doesn't need to have a crosswalk. And our policy doesn't warrant it either.
And my constituent brought up the kids cross there, but I mean, you could say that about lots of different spots in the city.
Kids cross every single intersection.
And middle of the street. Just
Thank you. Alderperson Hanson, anything else?
Nope.
All right. Let's go on to the next one.
Okay, sorry.
Signs.
The other one is the flashing yellow lights at Lewis and Broadway due to vehicles blocking the intersection for emergency access. So we did have quite a few discussions with fire and police. If something were to be put there, it would be similar to like one of those RRFBs, which Chuck mentioned, but it would be for fire trucks. So you'd have just the lower mounted signs. And that would be, probably $20,000. If you had to get something bigger overhead because there's, 2 lanes of traffic, then you're talking significant money. But fire and police did not feel that it was an issue at this point that warrants any action. They use it all the time. If something changes, our traffic patterns change due to the, Pere Cultural Center, that can always be added in the budget and reevaluated and come back to the board. But at this point, really, they didn't have a need for that facility.
Alderperson Ledman,
Who brought that one forward?
Alderperson Hanson.
Oh,
It was
a constituent.
constituent of
Yes,
mine.
I'm sorry. I
Okay.
apologize. Yep. It was a constituent that brought it forward to him, and then
Yep.
and they did the whole process. Both the chiefs, Eric, everyone was involved in this discussion and dialogue. So,
okay.
Alderperson
Am
Carpenter.
I correct, though, when this culture thing was being built and this roads are getting done, that it's not going to be a left turn going on to, that's going to change that intersection by the police station.
Left turn going to.
Correct.
They won't-
You will not.
Can't go left off at Lewis.
You will not be able to come off the roundabout and make a left into there. It's going to be right in, right out only.
Into Lewis. Yeah,
Yep,
left
yep,
Going
right in. and
Now,
right out.
what we build there will be somewhat mountable. If the fire department needed to get over it, they could. But hopefully it'll be enough of a deterrent so people aren't using it.
But I was just going to say, there is going to be some changing.
Yes.
And when this culture center gets there, I thought that was brought up. But
It is. It's part of the Erie Street, or I'm sorry, the Lewis Street
Street.
yes,
reconstruction.
okay,
Yes.
thank you. I just wanted,
Yeah, very good point. Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, so Chief Maskey initially brought up the idea of possibly having actuated lights only flash when there's an emergency call, and he said there is something similar on Holmgren Way that Ashwaubenon Fire uses. So was that specific idea looked at then, and then and Chief Maskey just decided?
Yeah, because that's what you'd have. You'd have to have some type of it'd be like some type of a push button similar to the RFBs when a pedestrian wants to cross. So it'd be solar, push a button and the lights would go. But yeah, that's what we talked about.
But it'd be
But if you get into
would be
anything more
active.
elaborate, like if you go with overhead because you put the sign up and people are still ignoring it, then you're talking $100,000 because you have big overheads and everything. But with that being said, the amount of times they've had issues because Holmgren, I think what happens is they come right out onto Holmgren.
Right.
Here they pull out and people see them coming, and your traffic keeps moving, in the interim. And really, you've only got a short amount of time when usually traffic's backed up in front of that. So they didn't feel it was an issue right now.
but we'll have to wait and see. Alderperson Rash.
I could be wrong, but I think the ones outside of the Ashwaubenon Fire Station are actually stop and go lights, or similar to that, because I believe they put up like a red light or
Boy,
something.
they might be.
Could be, I don't remember.
That actually
don't
stops traffic that way, and then they get out and they do their thing, and then it goes right back to.
That's all regulated right out of
like a yellow-
when the fire trucks go out or whatever's leaving that building
Yeah.
regulates those lights.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's as they open the doors or something like that.
Whatever. I don't know how it's set up,
I
but
don't
yes.
either, but I just.
Scott wants to add something too.
And then
Scott.
just for clarification, the RFPs we talk about, pedestrians activate those. This will be activated from the first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I'm
Inside.
just saying the
Yeah.
mechanism would be the same. Someone could be in the fire
Yep.
station and push a
So you have to
button
wait
so
for
they go out.
pedestrian to.
Yeah, we just let them for the pedestrians,
I
just
just-
keep hitting them.
Fire truck. Hopefully someone's
Well, I
there.
mean, somebody might be watching it Jen, on TV and just want to clarify. So they would push a button inside on a call.
Yeah.
And it would go off.
Alderperson, was your hand up again, Alderperson Hanson?
No,
So I guess basically, I mean, if things change going forward with Malva and the
Yeah.
intersection,
Stop light.
it might be worthy another look.
yep.
Which is a possibility.
Yeah,
All right,
those are
no action, so no action.
yellow to
No
red.
action.
I would then make a motion to adjourn.
Future.
Future agenda.
No, I would then do this. I would entertain any future agenda items. Anyone have a future agenda item? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, I do have one. So there was a constituent of mine on Saddlebrook Lane last November who was upset because TDS did a little hole in his driveway, and instead of replacing the full driveway panel, they just epoxied the concrete piece back in. And now TDS did eventually say that they'll replace the whole sidewalk panel, but I talked to him about a week ago, and he said that he's heard that there's a couple other residents who had similar things done to their driveways, and that concrete piece is already starting to cave back in. So he thinks we should, as part of our contractor specs, require contractors to replace the full driveway panel if they drill a hole like that. So I'm just wondering if we can have a discussion on that.
Scott, I know we have contracts with them, or Eric, which one do you guys want to, where would this go?
Yeah, we'd have to talk about it.
I mean, you obviously talked to TDS about this and start there first, I assume, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, really, and we'll definitely bring it back. Right now, replacing cores is something that is an accepted practice in the industry. In fact, we let them do it on our pavement, you know? So if we're gonna force a panel for a resident, do we do the same thing for a roadway where a panel's, you know, $10,000? You know what I mean? So we'll have to evaluate that. Now, if they're doing, because one of the things we changed years ago was we changed the spec that they should be using a backfill in there that doesn't compact, like we call it a slurry. Because otherwise, yeah, how are you going to compact in that tiny little hole? So I guess we'll come back, we'll bring it forward, find out, you know, because this is all part of also our, what we can issue for permits. And I don't know if there's any PSC requirements or rules that allow them to only do a core. Because if we charge exorbitant fees to utilities, ultimately all that gets passed on to the customer, being the resident. So, you know, because I know years ago when we started our current fee process for utility permits, there was a lot of pushback from the utility companies. Scott had a lot of meetings when I first started because they were not happy with the fees and they wanted to bring the PSC in so you're not overcharging and making them pay more. You know, again, because we all have the same customers. They have customers and their customers pay rates just like, so we'll have to look at it.
Okay.
But yes, we'll bring it back.
Very good. Thank you. Other future agenda items? I will now make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Carpenter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're officially adjourned.